Hello, my name is Anneshia Freeman. I'm also known as the Locksmith because I make keys for locks in the mind. I'm a master's level therapist, and my specialty is cognitive restructuring, meaning I introduce people to dysfunctional, unconscious beliefs that make decisions for them without their conscious awareness. I also provide people with tools, real tools, to help them reprogram their minds with functional beliefs. Welcome to my podcast, Improving the Bottom Line by Encouraging Innovation. This podcast is for managers, supervisors, and leaders, but anyone can benefit from the information. So, how will we improve the bottom line by encouraging innovation? By addressing dysfunctional unconscious beliefs that cause leaders to discourage innovation. This is episode 5 in series 2 of my podcast. So, a little information about me. I have a bachelor's degree in business. I have a master's degree in business administration. I have a master's degree in social work. And I was the personal assistant to the mayor of Grand Rapids, Michigan for 3 years, the Honorable Reverend George K. Hartwell. He was also the director of the Community Leadership Institute. I was his assistant at the Institute. So I observed a phenomenal leader in action for 3 years. As I said earlier, I specialize in cognitive restructuring, and I created an award-winning program entitled The Lies That Bind. I have a youth and an adult model. Both models of the program have been manualized, and I train other service providers in the methodology. My work has been featured on a PBS show entitled Inner Compass. I was the clinical director at 2 organizations, so I've served in leadership positions. I've also served on various community boards and committees. So whenever you hear me use certain terms in my podcast, I'm using these terms interchangeably. So I use the term issues, unaddressed issues, lies, and dysfunctional unconscious beliefs interchangeably. Whenever I use those terms, I'm referring to dysfunctional unconscious beliefs that cause people to engage in self-defeating behaviors repeatedly despite the consequences. These beliefs are usually programmed into people's minds during the formative years. I say usually because there are exceptions to the rule. These beliefs are programmed into people's minds by how they are treated and by what they observe. So there's a third way. Some beliefs act as a landing pad that flags in other dysfunctional beliefs. For example, if a person was programmed with a dysfunctional unconscious belief, there's something wrong with you, that belief can flag in the belief compared to others, you come up short. So let's talk about how these beliefs are powerful, where their power lies. So most of the beliefs, these dysfunctional unconscious beliefs that I discuss in my podcast, are totally antithetical to how people consciously think, to what we consciously know, believe, and articulate. I say most because individuals who are afflicted by perfectionism, to a certain extent, they may be aware of the belief you have to get it right the first time, but they may not be aware of all of its unconscious impact. For example, they wouldn't hire an inexperienced baker to bake their wedding cake, but they put the unrealistic expectation on themselves to get things right the first time. An individual who may be afflicted by poor anger management may be completely unaware of the unconscious belief you have a right to take your frustrations out on others. This belief causes individuals to use people as emotional punching bags. It's hard to fight an invisible enemy. That's the power of the unconscious mind. And I believe in Sigmund Freud's theory that you have to bring the information that's in people's unconscious minds to their conscious awareness in order to help them. I believe in his theory. I just have different techniques. So let's talk about the belief that we're going to focus on for this podcast. Now, when I do trainings, because I do 3-hour trainings, 1-day trainings, 2-day trainings, I do trainings on each topic that I cover in my podcast. But in my trainings, I discuss sometimes 8 or 10 dysfunctional unconscious beliefs that cause the problems I address in my podcast. But for the length and duration of this podcast, I only address one. So one belief that causes leaders to discourage innovation is a belief I nickname as the "your thoughts are the only valid thoughts" belief. That belief is what you think is more important than what others think or know to be the truth. This belief is a money pit. It causes companies to lose revenue due to lack of innovation. People who are afflicted by this dysfunctional unconscious belief often discourage staff who have ideals for improving products and services. They surround themselves with yes people who don't challenge them. They believe the way they see the future of the industry is the future of the industry. They use facial expressions, vocal tones, voice inflections, and body language to discourage staff from articulating ideals for innovation. They find reasons why suggested innovations will not work. They disregard evidence that changes are happening in the industry if those changes do not align with the way they think about the industry. But there's a way out. Dr. R. Joseph, a noted expert in the fields of neuroscience and psychology, says that there is a way out for individuals who have been raised in circumstances in which dysfunctional unconscious beliefs have been programmed into their minds. He says that they have to be able to recognize the maladaptive, self-destructive patterns they've been engaging in. He says it would be very difficult for them to change their behavior if they cannot recognize it so as to avoid it. So because the belief that we're discussing today is unconscious, the people who are afflicted by this belief, they engage in behaviors that they're not really aware that they do until it's brought to their attention. Dr. Joseph says they also have to become educated about the alternatives available, such as alternative beliefs and alternative behaviors. So here's a more functional belief that can challenge the dysfunctional belief that we're discussing today. You have a right to express your opinions and ideals, and so do others. You have access to information, and so do others. You have ideals, and so do others. There are some things you know to be true, and it's not just your opinion. Although you have experience that confirms what you know, others may have information that can help you see a different perspective. In today's world, due to technological advances, changes happen quickly. If you think the way you think and what you know are undisputable facts, then you are putting yourself, your department, your company, or your organization at risk. There may be people sitting in your staff meetings with ideals that can solve long-standing problems and improve products and services. You may be shutting them down with condescending facial expressions, vocal tones, voice inflection, body language, and snide remarks. Thinking you have all the answers will turn you into a case study for what not to do in a business textbook. Just ask Blockbuster. Netflix approached them with their innovation. Blockbuster didn't see Netflix as an opportunity or a threat. They thought they had the industry on lockdown. Be open to change. Now, there's controversy about what happened in that meeting in the year 2000, when Netflix approached Blockbuster. There's some controversy about what was said in that meeting, but there's an agreement across the board about the fact that Netflix offered to sell their company to Blockbuster for $50 million and Blockbuster declined the offer. As of June 2022, Netflix has a market cap of 84 billion, and Blockbuster does not exist. So here are some strategies to help people address the behaviors associated with the dysfunctional unconscious belief, what you think is more important than what other people think or know to be true. For the behavior of discouraging staff who have ideals for improving products and services, create a culture that welcomes innovation and change. Have risk management in place to help you analyze ideals. For the behavior of surrounding yourself with yes people who don't challenge you, have people on your team who are not afraid to disagree with you. Learn to agree to disagree so people are not afraid to challenge you. For the behavior of believing the way you see the future of the industry as the future of the industry, do research. Don't allow what you think alone to call the play. Use the 6 thinking hats approach to analyzing ideals. So there's 6 thinking hats. Recently, they added a 7th one, but I was taught the 6 thinking hats approach. So the black hat is the logical negative way of seeing or analyzing an ideal. It's the careful and cautious and judgmental hat. That is a good hat, but you should also have people using the yellow hat, the logical positive, the optimistic, sunny, and positive way of thinking about an ideal. So it's a very powerful concept that 6 thinking hats. If you're not familiar with it, I do recommend that you buy the book or look at some of the trainings that are available online. So for the behavior of using facial expressions, vocal tones, voice inflections, and body language to discourage staff from articulating ideals for innovation, work on your communication style, your verbal and your nonverbal communication, because you can be shutting people down with facial expressions as opposed to things that you say. Challenge others on your team who use unprofessional communication styles, whether those unprofessional styles are verbal and or nonverbal. For the behavior of finding reasons why suggested innovations will not work, if you specialize in identifying reasons innovations won't work, have someone else provide reasons why they will work. So you can wear the black hat, but let someone else wear the yellow hat. Someone who can see the value, the benefits, why something will work. I believe that if Blockbuster had used the 6 thinking hat approach, we might be watching Blockbuster online instead of Netflix, right? Have risk management evaluate ideals. There's risk involved. There's lots of risk involved with new ideals, new products, new services, but those risks can be evaluated and managed. For the behavior of disregarding evidence that changes are happening in the industry, if those changes do not align with the way you think about the industry, come out of denial. Read industry reports, study successful innovators, and learn how they manage risk. So that's all for this episode of my podcast. If you would like more information about my trainings, my 3-hour trainings, my 1-day trainings, my 2-day trainings, feel free to contact me via email. I can be reached at afreeman@AnnesiaConsulting.com. I can also be reached via either of the contact pages on my website. So I have a website, AnnesiaConsulting.com, and I have another website, AnnesiaSpeaks.com. I'm also a motivational speaker with a powerful come from behind victory story. On my website, AnnesiaConsulting.com, I have a store page where you can purchase workbooks, books, some of my cognitive restructuring belief system cards. Now, I also train therapists, counselors, and peer recovery coaches in my adult and youth program models. These are the manuals here. For people who is listening to the audio, I also have a video version of this podcast, so you can't see the manuals, but I have two manuals. I have a manual for my adult program and a manual for my youth program. They are not available for purchase on my website because people interested in being certified, trained and certified to use my program, they have to attend a 5-day training and they receive the manuals when they attend the 5-day training. Here's a couple of my books. So check out my future podcast series. This is the last episode in series 2. I will be taking the month of July. I'm recording this in the year 2022. I'm taking the month of July off from recording podcasts to focus on another project, but I will start back recording episodes in August. Topics to be determined. I look forward to speaking with you again. Bye-bye.